Hello everyone, I'm Morgan and welcome to Way of Living podcast, where you will hear empowering women talking about how you shouldn't feel stuck in an unfulfilling career and how to follow your dreams. Life is short. Live it to the fullest, and I hope you will feel inspired by their stories. Let's talk art and craft for the last episode of the CORONABUSINESS series. Of course, you can go back and check episode 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 to hear other businesses women dared to create during the crazy 2020 pandemic. During lockdown, some of us started taking new hobbies, learning new skills, and had to stay sane while staying home. Throughout the years, Claudette Anderson changed careers a few times, and at the beginning of the year, she decided it was time to readjust her career path again. Unfortunately, COVID-19 wasn't in her plan, and she was forced to put those changes on hold. Stuck at home with 2 small children, Claudette, who needs to work at least for her mental health, started a hobby that she used to put at the bottom of her to-do list. Punch needling was not supposed to be her new professional skill, but after offering a few of her embroidery arts and taking pictures of them on her Instagram, people wanted to buy them from her. In this episode, Claudette tells us how drop-down thread came to life, her lockdown experience, and how she created a small business on social media. Hi Claudette, how are you?
Hi Morgan. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Surviving. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm very excited.
Thanks for having me.
So you created a business during lockdown. That's why you're here for my CORONABUSINESS series. And
Yes.
the name of your business is Drop Down Thread. It's an embroidery art business. So you do these beautiful art pieces. At the beginning, I always ask my interviewees to introduce themselves. If you would like to start with this. Before that, you were not a textile artist. You were a teacher for over a decade.
Yeah, that's right. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher from quite a young age. I think I was about 15 or 16. I'm a geography teacher, so in secondary schools and sixth forms, like colleges. And I did that. So I studied geography at university, and then I did my teacher training immediately after. And then I taught for 10 years with a few gaps to go traveling, but yeah, over 10 years in total. And then when I had my first child, I went back after my maternity leave, and it just didn't feel the same. Teaching is a very stressful profession in lots of different ways, but I felt that at that time it wasn't right for me. With having a very young child. I don't know about you, obviously you're a mother as well, but I felt like as soon as I became a parent, I had lots of guilt about not being good enough, like not being good enough like partner or friend or mother, etc. So I really wanted to do the best by my children at school, my students, and I felt like I couldn't do that as well as trying to be, a good person in other spheres of my life as well. So I decided to quit what I was doing and then look for something else. And I retrained. I did an online course in social media management and decided to go freelance doing that. And was very lucky. I found a client called Go Jauntily, who are amazing. They make like a free walking app encouraging people to get outside for their mental health, etc. And I found them through a friend. Well, they're now my friends as well, but originally a friend of my partner, just through a chat at a barbecue, I think it was. And that was great because it got me going straight away. And then I found other clients, etc. And then I had another child last year. Was it last year? Who knows? Yes, I think. Who knows what time is anymore? It's such a weird concept this year. Yeah, it definitely was last year. Now
I don't know, you did it.
Yeah, it was last year. Let's definitely confirm that. And again, like during maternity leave, I just had time to think about stuff. Well, all the normal breastfeeding, etc. And realized I felt like I'd finished doing that. Like I really enjoyed lots of the parts of my job which I'd grown into, like copywriting. I still really love doing. I love writing. I love doing events for different clients. I like doing the strategy part of it, but the day-to-day social media management I didn't enjoy anymore. And I just felt that it was time to do something that I really enjoyed again. And I've, although I still really miss parts of teaching, I'm not ready to go back to that yet, I don't think. So at the start of the year, rightly or wrongly, obviously not foreseeing what would happen in 2020, I decided to stop what I was doing with the social media management, have a month of, you know, the last kind of month of my maternity leave before my youngest child was about to start nursery, just kind of enjoying some time with him and starting to apply for new jobs in areas that would combine my previous skills like education, but also a little bit of marketing, writing, etc. And I applied for a few jobs, I had a few interviews, and then obviously COVID hit, and that was the end of that. It was quite demoralizing, but I don't know, you don't want other people to be having a crap time, but at the same time it's reassuring that other people are also having a rubbish time when you are, you know, that you're not alone in struggling to find a job. And I felt kind of, I don't know, I guess it's normal, but I felt kind of like annoyed at myself that I'd made this decision to stop what I was doing to try and find another job just at the worst time possible. Yeah, so that was my lead up to lockdown this year. So when lockdown started, I became the primary caregiver in our house because my partner, fortunately, his job is secure and it seems very busy, and you know, hopefully that will stay that way. So it meant that I became essentially like a full-time stay-at-home mum, which I know that suits lots of people. It's not something that suits me.
Yeah.
And that became very clear during lockdown. I'm not sure if you experienced that as well, having so much time with your child, but it was intense.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, that's for sure.
No.
But you found a new hobby, let's say. Yeah, it's a hobby. How did you find this hobby? Did you know about it before?
Yeah, so a friend, well, a now former colleague who worked at that app I mentioned, Go Jauntly, I'd seen her. She's very crafty. Her name's Sarah. Hi, Sarah. And she had been playing around with this type of embroidery punch needle for a while, and I had seen a few of her pieces that she'd made and really loved them. And for a while, had like meant to get into it. You know, like, right, I'm going to order some supplies and I'll start a new hobby. You know, and that would be great. It will give me something to do. It's like a very mindful activity. And then just obviously never got around to it because life. After a few weeks of lockdown, I realized that the only thing that was going to get me through was having like my own personal projects, because spending all, you know, most of every day just with two young children, I don't know, there were parts of it that were obviously wonderful and we had some great times together which we wouldn't have had otherwise, but I really needed something for me. So I don't know how I was reminded of it. Maybe I saw something, I can't really remember, but I remember that I wanted to teach myself how to do punch needle embroidery, and so I ordered some supplies and then kind of played around with it. I think I made something for our house first, and then I made a present for a friend whose child was just about to be 1, so I thought that might be quite nice. I could make something for them, and then again, like, made another thing for our house, made another thing for a friend. And then I put them on my own like personal Instagram, and a few people had commented, not to kind of show off in any way, but more because I was quite proud of myself that I'd achieved something whilst looking after 2 young people, and just wanted to show off in a way about like, oh, look, this is something that I've done in this time of just looking after tiny children. And yeah, a few people had commented, oh, these are really beautiful, you should sell them, you know, I'm sure people would be interested. And just, I guess at the start, just didn't have the confidence to do that because just this year was just so crazy and hectic, and there was just all kinds of emotions flying around. And then after a while, just kind of thought, what have I got to lose? So, you know, just put a message again on just like my private Instagram to friends, you know, that a few people had mentioned it, and would anybody like to buy one or for me to create one for them. And I think 2 people might have done that, which I was thrilled with. And then after I made those, I thought, well, I've probably got enough material to put them out publicly, and just thought I'd test the waters and see how it went. And then it went really well, which I was very surprised with. And then it's carried on like that since. I was fortunate, I guess, in a way, in that I didn't start with 0 kind of followers, because I had an old public Instagram account which was about my local area, which I'd made while I was training in social media management, and I'd kept that open without kind of realizing it was still there, and it already had, like, I think about 1,000 followers. So I sneakily just changed the name of it and then reintroduced myself and what I was doing on it. So I had a potential customer base to begin with, and I guess the style of the pieces that I make, I thought would apply to that, you know, be attractive to that potential customer base anyway. And again, just kind of thought, why not? What have I got to lose? If nobody likes it, then I haven't lost anything, because I've gained a new hobby which I really like doing. So if I, you know, some people will obviously drop off because they didn't sign up to learn about embroidery or be sold embroidery. And also just thought, well, that's fine. It's not for everybody. And then as a result of that, started getting a few customers straight away, which was really good. And I really wasn't expecting it. I was expecting to put it out to the world and maybe have 1 customer. So I feel really fortunate that I've started something out of nothing. But it does still feel quite strange talking about it, I guess, as a business, because it's so new and unexpected.
How long ago was this?
I think I taught myself how to do it at the start of April, maybe.
And when did you start selling?
I think in June. Yeah, so it took a couple of months to, well, learn how to do it, get better at it, and then have the confidence to put it out publicly.
Yeah, how did you find the confidence? Because that's one thing to start something completely new and 2 months later start selling them. How did you find the confidence?
After a while, you know, I did feel quite confident in my ability. I knew that I was getting better. I was practicing all the time. And I think, like, because of my teaching background, I know that's really important, you know, putting the hours in, making mistakes, learning from them, and just, you know, concentrating on the craft and, you know, improving it all the time. So that was part of it. Like, I knew that I was getting better at it. And I knew that the friends who were commenting, I mean, I love all my friends in different ways, but I knew that the friends who were commenting weren't the kind of people who would say it was good if it wasn't. So I trusted their judgment, and I, you know, have a lot of respect for them in their, particularly some of their views, like aesthetically. One person that commented, for example, is an art teacher and illustrator. So I knew that she knew what she was talking about. Another person was a designer, so I knew that they knew what they were talking about. And I think that gave me a bit of confidence as well. And then, yeah, the last chunk of confidence came from that kind of view of just go for it. If it doesn't work out, then you haven't lost anything, and just try. And I just tried to think of it in that way. That's not to say I wouldn't have been upset had it not taken off, because I know that I would have been. But the only way I could launch myself into it was, you know, trying to tell myself, you've got nothing to lose, go for it. It doesn't matter if nobody likes it. And that's all I could do in that moment, I think. I couldn't get a job any other way. You know, obviously the job market crashed, and it's still in, you know, it's not in a good way now. Lots of people have lost their jobs and are still waiting to hear whether they're going to lose their jobs. So I kind of knew as well, like, I didn't have another option. And maybe that gave me a bit of confidence and kind of propulsion towards, like, you know, just doing it.
Yeah, because that's one thing to say, I don't have anything to lose. But in normal times, that's very hard to actually follow what we think. We have nothing to lose, because most of the time we do have something to lose. It can be money, that can be time, that can be, you know, our career on the other side. But because that's a different time and you were stuck at home anyway with 2 kids, and you needed physically and psychologically something to do, something else to do, that's why you actually could go through this I have nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on. I think the mental aspect of it was a large player in making me giving it a go, or give it a go rather, because I needed projects. I just needed lots of projects. One of them was like decorating walls in our house, which I'm sure lots of people did, that kind of thing. Not necessarily very well, but still it gave me something to do. But yeah, definitely that kind of space and time to myself to work on something, even in snatch little moments of nap times or in the evenings, just making sure that I had something to do that was just for me and it didn't involve anyone else in the house or, you know, anyone else's time. Yeah, so it was kind of something that I did selfishly, but very importantly for my own mental space as well.
Yeah. Especially for moms, you know, it's okay to be selfish a little bit. I don't even like this word selfish. It's just thinking
Yeah.
about yourself is not being selfish. You know, it's actually healthy. A question I always wonder is how people, because I don't know if it's because it's not me, but I'm always really impressed by how people find names or brands names or the names for their shops or whatever. How did you find Drop Down Thread?
It came about through a conversation with my partner. When I decided that I was going to, you know, try and sell them publicly, we had a conversation about it, and we were just playing around with names, and we came up with a few names. Like Drop Down Thread is obviously a pun on Drop Down Dead. We were trying to come up with different puns on various things to do with yarn or stitches. And we came up with a few like straight away and thought, oh my God, these are genius. And then obviously looked, you know, on Google and Instagram and realized that loads of people already have those names. So we weren't that clever. And then just started making a list basically of various different puns or like funny, I guess, to us. They might not necessarily be funny to other people, funny names that could be used. And then I had that one and another one that I was going between, and then just liked the name of that one a little bit more. And then I'm very lucky that my partner is a designer. He does like web design and build. So he could make a logo for me, which was, again, you know, very fortunate. Because usually people have to pay people to do that, and I didn't. I think I probably just made him one cup of tea. I'm sure he would have liked more. One, because he always moans about the fact that he has to make them. Anyway, so that's how it came about. Just him and I chatting about different puns to do with thread and yarn and things like that. And that's just the one that I thought sounded best for me. So, yeah.
Were you not scared that, well, no, you were not scared because you had nothing to lose, as you said, but that people would not be able to buy your products because obviously, as you said, people lost their jobs, the people were on furlough, the market crashed. Did you not think maybe that's not the right time?
Yes, I did consider that for sure. And like, you know, I know from even our own household, we went from having two incomes to one. So yeah, I knew that was the case. I think because of my own experience of spending, obviously we all had to spend a huge amount of time at home. That was what propelled me into one, doing, you know, starting this hobby and teaching myself how to embroider, but also decorating the house, because there's never been a time I can think of where I've spent so many times within these four walls of our house and just kind of looking around and thinking, oh, there's that job that we said 2 years ago we would start doing and we didn't do it, or that wall really needs painting, or this is flaking off. And so started getting a few jobs done around the house, again, just when the kids were asleep or an evening, or when, you know, when nurseries finally reopened again. And so I knew that we were doing a lot of home decoration work because we needed to do it, but also, again, as like a project for me particularly. And I knew that lots of other people, well, seemingly lots of other people were doing that as well. One, just by like my own group of friends I could see on social media, they were doing things, but also stories about that kind of came out in the news, you know, what people were doing during lockdown, and that sales of basically any kind of DIY or home decoration products were going through the roof. And I could see as well that when I was starting to order more supplies, like craft supplies that I needed, like embroidery hoops and yarn and the material that I used, that kind of thing, it was really hard to get a lot of them during lockdown, because so many people were obviously doing similar things to me, you know, learning a new hobby or starting a craft, etc. Particularly, I think people who maybe don't have kids because they had more time to do it. And I think because of that, that gave me, I mean, I was still scared, for sure, but I think that gave me a bit more confidence that people who still were in the financial position to start a craft or, you know, decorate their house a little bit, people who are still fortunate to have jobs were doing, you know, a lot of purchasing, I guess, in that kind of area. Nice. So that gave me a little bit more confidence that there would be, you know, a customer base, I guess, for people who want textile art or who haven't considered it before, who might see it for the first time and think they really like that style, etc. So I guess COVID was probably good for some businesses like mine that have just emerged, or people that already had that kind of business and saw new customers because people just wanted to decorate the walls that they were bored with during lockdown.
The marketing side of this, you had no training in marketing, or I know you worked as a social media manager, so you had this kind of knowledge how social media works, probably in a lot of aspects of it. Did this help for your business to sell on Instagram?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I knew what I should be doing. I knew like how often I should be, you know, roughly like posting things and how I should be interacting with people and trying to engage people, etc. And no, because it's really hard to, I found it really hard to do for my own business. When I had clients that I was working for, I would be doing everything to the book and finding out what, you know, trying to find out what I should be doing, trying to keep up to date with changes, you know, on different platforms, etc., that I was using or advising clients about. But I seemingly can't really advise myself very well. I think as well, another part of that is time, the time constraints of having your own business. And particularly what I do is very time consuming and not very scalable. You know, it's just me making things. I make them bespoke, one person at a time. I take my time to make sure that they're very neat and, you know, that a lot of love and care goes into them. So that's what I spend most of my time doing. And I can only do that on the days that I have childcare, etc. So trying to find the time to sit down and, you know, work out a content plan for myself or do more engagement, which I know I should be doing, I found really difficult. And I think, well, I know a lot of people feel that way as well from like, you know, we obviously kind of virtually met each other on a freelance group that we're both part of. And I see those conversations quite a lot on there. So at least that reassures me I'm not by myself. But I know there's definitely more that I need to be doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's important. I was talking to someone yesterday who was saying that you need to be part of a community. And as you said, we actually met on a freelancing group on Facebook, and probably a lot of people feel the same way. But that's why I asked those questions, because I don't want people to feel discouraged by being overwhelmed or by the workload.
I think with the marketing side of things, I know I should be doing more, like lots of people do. And I'm just trying not to give myself a hard time about that because it's a difficult year anyway. This is still really new to me. You know, as I said at the start of our conversation, it's still strange to me saying, hi, I'm Claudette, I'm a textile artist. It seems like an alien speaking to me. So I think I'm just trying to be kind to myself, which is easier said than done. Obviously, like there are times where I get really stressed, either because I have a lot of orders, which is fantastic, and then I get really stressed about, oh, when am I going to fit them in, etc., around this or this. And then other times, obviously, there might be a few days where you don't have any orders coming in, and then you get stressed about that. So I just think there's enough going on, and that I will get better at it as I go on. And when I get time to do it, I'll get time to do it. And if I don't, then at the moment, it's kind of working okay. So,
last question that I always ask is about success, and what is your view on success, and how do you view your success?
That's a good question. I guess it's changed slightly, particularly because of this year. I think success for me at the moment is trying to stay happy and mentally healthy. I think that's really important. It's been a really hard year for so many people. And I know even though it's been hard for me in some ways, I appreciate that I'm incredibly privileged in that my partner still has a job and that we've still got our house, etc. So I think trying to make sure that as much as possible, everyone in our household is happy and healthy, regardless of what's happening, that's success to me. I think finding something that I really enjoy and love doing has been a brilliant success to me. It's great that I've managed to make a small income from it as well. That's really important, but it's also kind of a bonus of doing something that you really enjoy and something that is very much like a mindful activity, crafting something and really just concentrating on that. And it sounds really basic, but just being there with some yarn and some fabric and some needles and just enjoying being in that moment and not at that time having to worry about what god awful mess like Trump is going to create or Boris is going to create next. That's kind of success, you know, trying to just stay mindful and do something. And I guess as well, trying to look to the future and be hopeful, I guess, whatever happens. And also, I think now, like particularly from the last year, like you said, with kind of career changes, is knowing that I'm quite adaptable, that I've become quite adaptable more so than I thought that I would. And that's success to me, you know, kind of rolling with the punches and creating something out of nothing.
That's a good answer. And as you said, a lot of people changing their views on success, and not just this year, but, you know, like throughout our life, we have different needs, and yeah, success changes. Yeah. It was absolutely great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I wish you all the best, and I hope to talk to you maybe in a year and see where you are at.
Yeah, who knows? Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Voila, that's the end of this episode, and I want to thank Claudette for telling her story. Please share it on your social media, comment, rate, and it might reach someone who will feel inspired to follow their dream, no matter what crazy pandemic we're in. Don't forget, life is short, live it to the fullest.